Welcome to The Chemical Show, the podcast where chemical means business. I'm your host, Victoria Meyer, bringing you stories and insights from leaders driving innovation and growth across the chemical industry. Each week, we explore key trends, real-world challenges, and the strategies that make an impact. Let's get started. Welcome back to The Chemical Show, where leaders talk business. So you're getting a special episode today from New York Society of Cosmetic Chemists, NYSCC Suppliers Day. What you're going to notice is that I have a couple of interviews that were done on site, and I recorded the majority of my podcast episode, including my observations about what's hot and what's not at Suppliers Day while I was there on site. So audio quality is what it is. We're tuning it up to the best we can, but you are getting the live on the floor experience.
I'm recording this at NYSCC Suppliers Day 2025 at the Javits Center in New York City, a place that is full of booths and people and innovations, and everybody is talking about beauty and science and the intersection of the two. So this is a great event. Had an opportunity to talk with a wide variety of participants, people at booths, people walking the floor, innovators, buyers, sellers, and more. And what I want to talk about today are some of the key trends and topics at Suppliers Day 2025. So a couple weeks ago, I had the chance to talk with Sunny Desai of Klein, and she brought us a precursor to Suppliers Day. And so if you haven't listened to that yet, go listen in. And I will say I saw some of the same things and more, and maybe a few different things. I also have a couple recordings to you with innovators in the chemical space and in the beauty and personal care ingredient space. So you're going to hear some of that. But what stood out for me, and people across the conference asked this question, and you guys asked this question, what's the sense? What's the sentiment? What are the key trends? And so what I'm going to tell you is it is just as important what's missing as what was said. So first of all, it was a big show, a full show, lots of people here. So everybody from formulators and brands and personal care ingredients companies, chemical companies, a whole group of media and innovators and other people buzzing. So lots of great indie brands and a lot of great innovations show up here. In fact, I had the chance to talk with Christoph Krumm from Sironix, and you're going to get a chance to hear from him as well, where we talked about the biosurfactants that they're introducing today. So what's interesting, though, is what's missing. There's a number of things that I think we're missing this year at Suppliers Day that perhaps have been part of the conversation for the past several years. So let's just kick off with sustainability. The words sustainability and sustainable was largely absent from conversations, absent from the imaging and imagery that companies are using on their booths and their big displays, absent from the conversations, other than when people specifically brought it up. And, why is that? And as one person I spoke with today said, well, at their company, we are shifting from sustainability to innovation and an innovation focus. And so that is one of the key trends I've heard. Of course, this is a place where there's a lot of innovation, and that's no surprise. We're seeing innovations on the uprise. I've been hearing this from leaders across the industry and certainly saw this today. But what's missing is a conversation on sustainability. And I think that resonates with what we're seeing across the industry generally, across consumer sentiment and just the changing dynamics of the world we're in. Why? Part of it is it's just really stinking hard to get truly sustainable metrics and to make a difference. And so, as you know, companies have moved away from some of those big sweeping sustainability goals and getting more pragmatic about delivering value, pragmatic about bringing innovation to company, still sustainable. We talked about that recently, but doing it in a more innovative, approachable manner. And frankly, what's missing and what I've seen missing across this conference today is sustainability. The second trend, and what's important to talk about what's missing, is natural. A year ago, 2 years ago, the word natural was used widely. Everybody was talking about natural products, natural ingredients, probably went hand in hand in a lot of ways with sustainability, but natural is not something that I've seen talked about. It's been replaced with plant-based. Again, it's been replaced with performance, so big emphasis on performance. And that's one of the big themes that's been here, right? So they shift from natural to performance.
Here's Christoph Krumm from Sironix talking about the performance trend and how that is affecting their business and their go-to-market strategy.
When we just think about the trends that are, trends that we've been talking about here at the show today that you guys think about and you look at as you're taking your product to market, what trends does it really hit? Why are people buying Furisoft from Sironix?
It's an interesting question. If you had asked me this when we spun out as a company, I would have told you bio-based is the innovation, right? That is the reason for existing.
Yeah.
That's really not the case, as we found. Bio-based ingredients matter. People still want them. The reason for existing for us is performance. People want to come to us for something that gives really exceptional foam, and they want something where they're going to have that performance, they're going to have that mildness, and they increasingly are coming to us for sulfate and dioxane-free products. So they're looking to solve some regulatory or consumer-driven innovation challenges, and they're looking to do that while maintaining the performance. They don't want to lose that brand equity of the products they have now. They want to reformulate into something that's going to look, feel, smell, and work in the way that they want those consumer products.
And then, and Sunny teed this up, a lot of conversation about neurocosmetics. And so neurocosmetics is this idea that a topical treatment will create performance, not just performance enhancements, we're always looking for that, but it's more mood and neurological benefits. Not 100% certain where we're going with this. Certainly, it's a trend that's talking about. What else is missing? Just from a pure display perspective, there has been almost no displays of like lab equipment and formulations and stuff. A year ago, a bunch of these things. This year, just one or two. So again, maybe moving a little bit away from the technical, the chemistry of it, and more into the performance of it, which I think is also where this neurocosmetics comes in. The other piece we're talking about is microbiomes. I don't know. For me personally, when I've been reading social media, watching social media, all this stuff, I keep hearing all about gut biomes. Seems to be the thing that people are talking about, but a lot of this is about microbiomes on the surface of the skin and the effect that that has. And so I think this ties in. In fact, I think this is a whole trajectory of what we're seeing between this shift away from using the words sustainability and natural, moving towards more innovation, neurocosmetic, plant-based, microbiomes, still with a whole focus on performance and that opportunity to do so. As I'm recording this, just wrapped up day one of the conference. In fact, I'm only doing day one of the show this year. So these are the key trends and topics that I'm hearing. I'm also integrating, as I mentioned, a couple of interviews that I did on the site. I'm talking about some of these performance improvements and some innovations that companies are bringing to market. And again, it's all about innovation for performance, which we're going to hear about when I talk to my guests that are on here and elsewhere. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for letting me take you on the journey. If you're watching this, go watch this on YouTube. I've got a lot of different video clips and some images that I brought in. And keep listening, keep following, keep sharing, and we will talk with you again soon.
As we wrap up today's episode, I'm actually bringing you a couple of short interviews that I did on the trade show floor at NYSCC Suppliers Day with a couple of innovators that are bringing new products to market. So these are products coming to you soon, both of which are tying really into this performance trend. So the first of which is John Harrold, who is the CEO of Zinco Verde. And Zinco Verde is an innovative new startup. They're actually working with independent chemicals to distribute their products. And they have a new approach to zinc oxide for sunscreen formulas and other things. So just hearing about how that product came to market, how it addresses those trends is a really interesting little clip and a new product that I think you guys are going to be excited about. And the second one is Christoph Krumm, who is the CEO of Sironix. And I met Christoph on a virtual event back in like 2020, back when virtual events were the thing. We got into a breakout room. And anyway, we got connected. And it's been interesting to see Christoph's and Sironix's journey as they've shifted and transformed their focus. And Christoph's already talked about that today on the podcast when he started talking about how their focus is performance rather than being bio and natural, although that is a fundamental to their product that they bring to market. So I think Some lessons that you can learn from these innovators is adaptability, identifying new opportunities, new markets, new uses for some existing technology, because in both cases, both Zinco Verde and Sironix are using some existing technologies that are in play already. So anyway, enjoy these little snippets of insights from Suppliers Day and let me know what you think and if there was anything that stood out for you while you were at the show.
Okay, I am here with John Harrold, who is the CEO of Zinco Verde. Hey, John, how you doing today?
Hi, how you doing?
So, tell us about who you are, just briefly. Give us an introduction to you.
So I am a biophysical chemist and material scientist who works in developing advanced materials in green chemistry.
Awesome. So, tell me about Zinco Verde.
So Zinco Verde is a company that makes metal oxides using a novel process that uses 99% less energy. And because we're using less energy, we're doing it in a process that we can actually enhance those metal oxides that we make.
Why are you here at Suppliers Day this year?
So metal oxides are in everything. They are quietly make modern life possible. And one of the things that they're in is sunscreen, which is our beachhead market, pun intended. So sunscreen, mineral-based sunscreens are the ones you're really supposed to be using, but people don't use them because they kind of suck. But our material solves that problem. We're able to make a sunscreen, or a customer's going to make a sunscreen that feels good going on and goes in clear, and generally people will use it more.
Because nobody wants the zinc oxide like the old surfers used to wear, right?
Oh yeah. That stuff that goes on feel cakey and you look pasty. That's not going to happen. Because of our process, we're able to make something that's very consistent shape and size. They're non-nano, but they're quite small particles, and so they spread out really well, very evenly spread out. It's kind of like if you see a screen, like for your window screen, you don't notice that you're blocking half the light coming through because everything's very evenly dispersed out, right? That's the same thing that's going on with the materials when it's spread out on your skin.
Awesome. What trends does this tap into? So when I think about kind of personal care, what's going on across this business and industry, what trends do you see fitting?
So I'd say there's a couple questions. Number one is in this skincare industry, there's clean beauty, which is really important. There's people who are really questioning what the ingredients are inside of what they want, and they want to have something that's better for you. So they know they use mineral-based sunscreens, but they really want them. And there's like such a wealth of information available for people. So they are seeking something better. They're seeking a better material, and then we can provide that for them. We make our material here in America, in Philadelphia, so people also really like a domestic supply chain for a number of reasons. One, if there's any interruptions, our material can still get made, so people are not worried about it not being able to find it if there's trouble getting the materials. So this is something we're really excited about. But moreover, I think people want something that's better for the environment, right? But that's not really enough to be able to move people. They want something that, well, it's going to be better for the environment, but also needs to be significantly better than what's out there, right? So they need to be sustainable. They also need to move the needle a little bit. And those things together, are going to get people to change their behavior. And that's kind of what we're in.
Love it. Thank you. All right, I am with Christoph Krumm, who is the CEO of Sironix. They're here launching a new product. So Christoph, tell us a little bit about Sironix.
Yeah, so Sironix is a startup company developing new surfactants platform technology. We're a spin out from a university. So we developed this at the University of Minnesota, spun that out as Sironix Renewables, and we've been developing this platform ingredient technology that's based on bio-waste agricultural residues. So we use otherwise waste materials, turn them into valuable ingredients, and in this case, surfactants, and those surfactants have really interesting applications, especially in personal care.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's interesting, Christoph, that we talked about is that unlike other biosurfactants, you're actually using traditional chemical processing technology.
Right, yeah, so we don't use fermentation, we don't use enzymes to make this. We use what we call simple pots and pans. So simple reactors, pressure systems, we use a solid catalyst, simple distillation process, and out comes a surfactant that has really unique properties, but it's based on plant-based ingredients. So we have 100% active and 100% plant-based input, and we can drive really interesting innovation with that chemistry approach as an output.
Awesome. So when you think about this, and I know you guys are here really promoting your product and it's ready for formulations, it's ready for prime time. What products do you see this going into?
So our ingredients are in the rinse-off category. So we make anionic surfactants that have incredible foam. They're incredibly mild on skin, and that foam feel that you get when you rinse that off leaves your hands feeling really nice, or your skin in general. And it's really mild on skin. And that's something that a lot of folks are looking to achieve with their personal care products. They want something that's going to give you that really nice foam, going to give you something that cleans well, but it still feels good after. It doesn't feel like it takes all the oil off your skin, doesn't feel like it strips your hair. It still feels safe and natural.
Yeah, well, and then of course, that's also when people are thinking about bio-based products, they often think that it does feel better, do better, etc.
Although that's not always the case.
Although that
right?
is not always the case, right? I often like to say, lye, which was around and used for soap for years, is very harsh, very natural, and very harsh. So it's not always the case. Christoph, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us today on The Chemical Show. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and most importantly, share it with your friends and colleagues. For more insights, visit thechemicalshow.com and connect with us on LinkedIn. You can find me at Victoria Meyer on LinkedIn, and you can also find us at The Chemical Show Podcast. Join us next time for more conversations and strategies shaping the future of the industry. We'll see you soon.